The 3,000-year-old caste system in India categorizes people by their occupation. The Dalit, or lowest caste, literally means oppressed, downtrodden, or exploited. The Dalits are called untouchable to this day. The Dalit Freedom Network, headed by Dr. Joseph D'Souza, works to bring education, healthcare, and economic empowerment to the Dalits.
Well, Dr. Joseph D'Souza is here with us now. He's the head of that wonderful Freedom Network. And welcome. It's great to have you here again.
Good to be here, Gordon. Good to see you.
It's been illegal for some time in India. The caste system was abolished, and yet it lingers. Why?
It's lingered because the social prejudices have not gone away. And, you know, a lot of the social system is governed by the prejudices of the old. But ever since this movement began, which you were there in 2001 covering all of it, I look back at the 17 years and I begin to see change and progress. And things are beginning to change. And I've done several op-ed posts recently saying I now honestly believe the tipping point against the caste system is happening, and you can see it. Because the revolt, which earlier one was among the older people, is now gone among the youth. And they have had enough of it. And I don't know whether your viewers have followed what happened in Gujarat. You know, there's a law that illegalized killing of cows and and buffaloes and all. And there were some Dalits who were skinning a dead cow, and the cow vigilantes in Gujarat caught hold of them and tied them to a car and whipped them with iron rods and broke. And then they put the video of what they did on the YouTube, and it led into one of the biggest massive youth revolts in the state of Gujarat, so much so that Prime Minister Modi was forced to come on national television, and he just went and just said that, you know, this is not acceptable. This is going on for 2,000 years. This is a civilizational wound, and this has to end. And he went and said, I consider myself now a devotee of Dr. Ambedkar. So where we were 2001 and where we are today, there is a significant shift. And of course, the consciousness of what this is has grown globally and internally.
For American viewers who may not understand the source of it, that it's a deeply rooted prejudice. It's got social implications, it has religious implications, but the fundamental is a racial tagging to a particular caste. And the word for caste, varna, literally means color. And so it's based on your race. It's based on your color.
It's based on your birth position because of God ordaining a certain amount of punishment because of karma in a past life. We all have the same color. I mean, Indians, it's very difficult for foreigners to come into India and to figure out who is a Dalit and who is not a Dalit, because we are all brown or we are black, or etc. So it's...
You stay there long enough, you can...
Yeah, if you stay there long enough...
The difference between North and South, Dravidian, non...
You're right, the black and the non-black, you can do that. But there are
within the culture, it's...
Within the culture, it's very easy. And an Indian meeting another Indian within 2-3 minutes, he figures out who is where and where in the caste system anybody is placed.
Well, let's talk about the positive. That's the history. But the positive is, if Modi is behind it, he's the leader of the country, and he is saying we have to get rid of this.
Yes.
In my experience, that's one of the first times a prime minister in India has come out that publicly and said this is a scar on our civilization.
Yes, and before elections, he said in Kerala that this is going to be the decade of the emancipation of Dalits. And a lot of it is probably related to the fact that he's not an upper caste Brahmin leader. He himself is a backward caste person, which is next to the Dalits. So there is that kind of empathy there. So that's the positive thing. But the important thing is what is done practically at the ground level in terms of bringing them freedom. And I don't see freedom coming to them unless there is a complete overhaul of the education system and an equal playing field within the education system.
Doesn't there also need to be an overhaul of the religious thinking?
There needs to be an overhaul in terms of religious freedom, that the Dalits should be free to choose what faith or what view that they want to go into. It's much more difficult, I think socially it's much more difficult to get the Brahmins to change their mentality, because this system benefits the upper caste Brahmins so much for so long, it's almost impossible. But India, with the churning that it is now going through, socially, economically, recognizes, boy, if we keep 250, 300 million people out of the system, within our economy and all, this is not going to do us any good. And who wants a civil war? Who wants widespread violence? And so that kind of equation has come in. And the younger generation, which is not part of the older prejudice generation, the educated and all, they cannot live with the fact that this goes on in India. I mean, when an upper caste and a Dalit fall in love, and in Haryana, you have honor killings. The young cannot relate to it. I mean, both sets of parents get together and hang both the boy and the girl for falling in love and getting married. I mean, and this is happening so much in the Khab Panchayats in Haryana. Nobody wants to touch it.
That still happens today?
Oh, still happens today, of course. Honor killings go on when young Dalits and non-Dalits get married. And so, so you have to deal with it. But as the society is getting evolved, they realize, boy, we need to do something. But I don't think the religious Brahmin class, which controls all of that, it's going to be a longer battle there for them to get rid of that, because this system gives them a monopoly, which no other system gives them.
What can people do?
Oh, the number of things people can do, and especially what can be done in India is to engage, like we have done in the freedom of Dalit boys and girls, and bringing them into, giving them an equal opportunity to become global citizens, to be educated in the English language. Since this whole movement began, we have 26,000 freed children now in one of our schools across the nation. The other thing is, because it's also a situation of modern slavery, one of the things that we are trying to do with the government, local and national, I think our viewers may not know that the government finally has brought in a bill at the central level on anti-trafficking, anti-human trafficking. It's been constructed, which is huge. But one of the problems that we are trying to deal with modern slavery, if you really look at a core problem, is a problem of temple prostitution, where young Dalit girls pre-puberty are offered to local goddesses, and then they become virtual sexual slaves. Now, we are living in Telangana, which used to be the olden Andhra Pradesh. And this is one of the big centers of the Jogini system. And now the government is working hand in hand with us to dismantle the whole system. There are 50,000 Joginis, or ritualized prostitutes. And girls born within a Dalit family are offered to them. And just in the last couple of years, with government cooperation, working with the government, we stopped the dedication of 1,500 young girls who would have been sacrificed. We have opened shelters up for girls who are most vulnerable to be, set in the system. And now we are working with the Joginis themselves, the temple prostitutes, and saying, okay, how do we make sure this is not, you can't rescue them and take them out, because it's a society. We have to figure out how do they get out of it, and what's the alternate occupation.
What do they now do?
Yeah, and give them a community that is loving
and support.
And the unconditional love of Jesus that does not accept anything in return is one of the most attractive thing to the women. So much so that the Andhra Pradesh government did a full local language television program on the women that we were empowering and why they were finding, freedom. They in fact now go to events where this offering is happening, and they put up their own pandal, and they keep on during the day with a megaphone shouting and telling the mothers and the families, this is not necessary. You don't have to sacrifice your girls. Don't go to where this ritual is taking place. There is a way out of this. This is not necessary. There are rights now. There is a legal war that we have won. And so it's one of the most fascinating stories. And right now, for this coming year, we're looking at freeing 5,000 of their children just among the temple prostitution.
Yeah, well, if you want more information on the Dalit Freedom Network and how you can be a part of saving these young girls, all you have to do is go to their website, dalitnetwork.org. And Dr. D'Souza, thank you for being with us, and thank you for your wonderful work.
Yeah, and thank you for your prayers and support over the years.